Okay, that's me a couple of months ago. You might, if you've got keen eyes, you might see that it's UTS startups in the background, and that's me on a shoot. So I'll talk more about this shoot later in the presentation. So there's a little bit of a blurb about me. I've been a learning designer and a teacher, a digital video producer for about 30 years. And so I was heavily involved in teacher professional development and other related areas. I've taught across most sectors of education, K to 12 schools, vocational, higher education, and others. But I'll talk about these in the next, say, 15 or so minutes. So this is all about my fabulous learning design career. These are the highs and the lows and everything in between, and some of the emotions that come with that sort of territory. I mean, I guess you can't, you would expect a diversity of experiences over such a long period of time. So if you want more information, there is a link. This is on my website. So I won't go through this one now, but this is learning designers use this sort of tool. This one's called Genially. So it's an interactive. So I've hidden information within those. But yeah, you can check that out on my website. Also, you might like to check out my podcast, which is called Perspectives in Parryville. So I talk to educators, and it's related to learning and teaching, but it's not school specific. It's whatever, cuts across different areas. And this particular episode is an instructional researcher, David Merrill. He's really famous in learning design circles. So here are some of the organisations that I've worked with over many years in different capacities. So I'll talk about some of them as I go through the slides. So I wanted to encapsulate two big ideas in my experience in learning design. And so one is the idea that sometimes when you're doing learning design, it's part of a publishing house. You're publishing a course, you're developing content, and you're making a kind of a resource. Another aspect is you might be in tech support. So you're solving problems for teachers or academics. And then other times you're giving advice or consulting about the pedagogy or andragogy for adult learners. And so sometimes you're doing all three. So it depends on where you work, the context. So that's a really key idea for being a learning designer or an instructional designer. Another key idea, and I guess this is true for almost every area of work, is sometimes the work that I've been involved with has high levels of cooperation, and then other times it's more competitive. There's different, maybe misunderstandings of what a learning designer does or how they might be useful or not. It can get complex in terms of content, who gets to decide different things. I mean, this is the nice, appropriate, generic, general version. But just those two ideas, I find they're definitely central to my work over the period of time. So here it is, my brilliant learning design career. Lovely little animation over 30 years with all the highs and the lows. So here we are in 2024. So I like this quote. I only saw this quote a couple of weeks ago, but disappointment is a friend to transformation, a call to both accuracy and generosity in the assessment of ourselves and others, a test of sincerity and a catalyst of resilience. So I've found resilience is the number one element of what I've learned over that time. So here's me in the early 90s as a classroom teacher. So what did I learn during that time? I won't go through all of these, but I learned that technology can support learning, and also that I used video quite a lot in my classes, but not just put the video on and watch it. We would interrogate the content, we'd bring it into class discussion. It wasn't just a kind of a distraction, it was central to what my lessons were about, where possible. a few other bits and pieces there, but I won't labor on those. So then, after I left the classroom, I unfortunately was a statistic of a teacher that left the classroom after 5 years, and I went to something called the Open High School, and that was a correspondence school. So it was delivering distance and remote learning to students for various reasons couldn't get to a school to learn the lessons, the subjects they wanted to learn. So what did I learn? I learned that a teacher has a crucial role, even though the format is different in distance learning. There was lots of stuff mailed in paper-based resources mailed out to students. And magically, the pedagogy or the learning and teaching elements can be embedded into the learning materials. I didn't know that before. More about technology and even the concept, that profound concept that students can learn remotely. I didn't really know. It's a little bit like the School of the Air on radio, but with cassette tapes and VHS tapes and printed leaflets. So that led to me becoming a developer, a writer of learning materials. So I was in an organization called LMPC. So what did I learn there? I learned that you really have to start with the pedagogy and then you use the technology after that. So sometimes people rush in and they want to use the bells and whistles and the cool tech, and that is not the best approach I've found. Also, planning is really important, and surprise, surprise, suitably designed teaching resources take time to develop. You can't just whip them up quickly. So, also, I guess that second last bullet point, the production systems have a lag and inertia when responding to technology and other change. That's a really polite way to say, sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you can't get the powers that be to engage with the new technology. They still want to use VHS cassette tapes and the rest. So I studied at TAFE around this time as well. So then this is my favorite era. This is when I worked at O10 Multimedia as a multimedia producer. So what did I learn there? I was doing project management. I had teams of people that did all the work for me, basically. I did the learning design and the content creation with teachers and subject matter experts, but the actual build was done by screen designers, programmers, audio and video technicians. So that was a really, really busy and productive period of time. So one of the main things I learned, apart from project management, is the place of instructional design in a production system, but also working as a team and trust between the team players was really important. So we'll move on. So that, with all the changes with TAFE, etc., a new organisation popped up called the Centre for Learning Innovation, and I was there for a while. So what did I learn? It was an era where the internet was really quite popular. Everyone wanted to put stuff on the internet, and they had all these print-based learning materials. So in order to get them all online, they automated that process. And so I spent a lot of my time just working only in Microsoft Word, marking up documents. So it wasn't so exciting, but it certainly produced lots of content. But I'm not convinced the pedagogy was sound or the media production approaches were sound. A really significant thing that I learned was that educational video production needs learning designers, because if you think about when you engage with video, you might watch a movie to be entertained, or you might watch something else for a different reason. It's really important to acknowledge that when we're dealing with video for learning, its main purpose is to teach something, or it's in the realm of learning and teaching pedagogy. sometimes that's missed because there's too many bells and whistles, or you compress it down so it's really short. You miss all the content, all the kind of learning outcomes. So I moved on from there and I did some postgraduate study at UTS. And that face in the picture does represent my emotional state. So, what did I learn? I learned that there's lots of theory that underpins film and video production, but you don't always have to use that. And then also qualification added to my career prospects because I started my small business, which I will talk about in a minute, Parryville Media. And I just found that a lot of my the people that I was working with, they valued my qualification in my Masters of Arts in Media Arts and Production. So I enjoyed combining pedagogy and learning design with video production, even though I was doing it a little bit earlier. Um, and then I picked up some work at Macquarie Uni. I've got the three dots at the end because I seem to tap in and out of Macquarie Uni about 5 times over many years. In fact, I'm still doing work for Macquarie Uni, a couple of jobs for researchers who need video production. So, what did I learn at Macquarie Uni? I learned that universities are complex ecosystems. There's learners, teachers, other people involved, and I guess there's different roles and different ways departments are set up. So, and then even when you go from one faculty to another or department, it seems like little ecosystems within ecosystems. And then as the photo announces, I entered the corporate era, but I didn't last very long there, I'm afraid. But it was significant because it was a really good learning experience that was full on, actually. It was really high paced, and I was working very closely with a job role called a business analyst. And so there's a lot of overlap with a learning designer and a business analyst. So I was developing training materials for Optus to roll out one of the earliest streaming video before Netflix. Optus had a kind of offering in that space, so I was doing the training for the employees. So, and also this idea of global learners across, you can have these huge events because they had the technology because they're a telco. So that was really quite interesting territory, but a little bit too full on for me. So back around 2003, I'd started doing freelance work. So these three worlds, I was working as an employee, but also doing freelance work, sort of half and half. So I found that I was in between worlds pretty much every day. So what did I learn? I like being a freelancer because you're responsive, flexible, you're really solving a problem for someone. And I could combine learning design with video production. And I really like collaborating with people like researchers, academic researchers that need to disseminate findings, that sort of thing. So I still do bits and pieces. It sort of comes and goes. It almost went down to nothing during COVID, my freelance work. Oh, the little animation there. Okay. Then got tired of learning design. Okay. This is one of the ups and downs. I thought, oh, look, I'm a bit sick of online learning. I I wanted to re-engage with face-to-face teaching. So I got a job as a teacher at SAE Creative Media Institute and also at Notre Dame University. So I was there for many years just as a casual or part-time. So I really learned that it's quite enjoyable face-to-face teaching. It's social and all the rest of it. And it was quite interesting because way back in 2011, mobile phones were relatively new. So we used to talk about whether they should be banned in schools. So that's still a current discussion topic. So then I re-entered the instructional design, learning design space for these two organizations. They have a lot in common, actually. So what did I learn? I learned lots about ecosystems and relationships. I guess because there's that showbiz element, there's a kind of difference between the front of house surface appearance versus what goes on under the hood or backstage. So I learned lots about the protocols and the culture of these two organizations. And it was during COVID. So, for good or bad, unfortunate or fortunate, my COVID experience wasn't that full on. It was actually quite unexpectedly, low key, maybe. So then another era, which is the current era that I am in, I sort of feel as though that man with the beard, I usually have a grey white beard. I've kind of, I think I might grow it back, but I'm quite comfortable being in this sort of mentor type of role. So teaching into these learning design courses suits me really well. And it's learning design's become really kind of attractive. A lot of people are seeking it out because of COVID. They realise that there's heaps of advantage to online learning. So I think I might just stop sharing and stop talking for just a minute. I haven't been looking at the chat.